Hello, and welcome to the Mary Sue video YouTube channel, whatever you want to call it. My name is Ashley Barry, and I am a writer for the Mary Sue. I also write for other pop culture sites. I have my own YouTube channel called Hyrule Hyrulia, and today I am so excited to introduce this wonderful, wonderful woman. She is the voice of Ahsoka Tano from Clone Wars and Star Wars Rebels. She manages her universe and her universe press. She's blonde. She's empowering. Say hello to Ashley Eckstein.
Hi.
Hey, how are you doing?
Good. How about
I'm
you?
good. Are you excited for Valentine's Day tomorrow?
Very excited. Actually, my husband, I'm out of town for work, and my husband just kind of surprised me this weekend and flew in town so we could spend
That's so
Valentine's Day together. So I'm
cute.
very excited.
Oh, that's so exciting. Are you like going out to eat? Are you doing anything?
You know what? We're doing our favorite thing, which is kind of doing nothing, just relaxing. Watching some of our favorite TV shows
Hmm.
and getting carry out, eating pizza, just kind of relaxing on the couch and doing nothing. So it's our favorite thing to do.
That is my favorite thing to do with my boyfriend.
Yeah.
Yeah, we are just going to make a salmon dinner tomorrow. We're gonna just be in our PJs, and I think we're gonna watch Star Wars Rebels because we're really into that lately. So that's cool.
Awesome. Awesome. Well,
Yeah,
good choice.
it is. It is a good choice. I thought so too.
Yeah, I actually have to tell you, I'm wearing my May the Force Be With You sweatshirt. And
Oh.
it's actually a unisex cut. This is a Her Universe sweatshirt. We found
Hmm.
a really great kind of unisex sweatshirt that looks great on both men and women. And it really is like the softest sweatshirt I've ever owned. And my husband and he flew in this morning, so we didn't plan it. But I pick him up at the airport, and we're wearing the same thing. We're wearing the same sweatshirt. So,
That is hilarious and amazing. Did you know that that's really a thing in Korea? I think like South Korea that couples actually match. That's like a
well, you know
trend
what?
over there.
I'm not surprised because
Yeah.
I haven't been to Korea, but I just got back from Japan, and I got to go to Tokyo Disneyland and Tokyo Disney Sea. And what I didn't realize is it's like a thing there to, if you go with a group or if you go with your boyfriend or husband, to match. So all like everyone was matching, and even couples were matching, and almost like in cosplay, which was amazing. And me and my friends who went to the park, we really felt like we didn't properly do our research because we did not go in matching outfits. So it actually doesn't surprise me, and I think it's a trend that needs to make it here.
I agree. I would, my boyfriend and I like accidentally match each other sometimes on dates. Like we both really like plaid, so
I
that's
love
interesting.
that.
I do too. It's really fantastic. So my first question for you is kind of silly. Um,
I love silly questions.
okay, so the blue milk that you see Luke Skywalker and his aunt and uncle drink in A New Hope, do you think the blue milk would be delicious or disgusting if it existed in real life?
Um, well, I absolutely think it would be delicious.
Yeah.
I love milk. I always love to experiment with food coloring.
Hmm.
So, like growing up, when we made pancakes, we would take food color and, make different color pancakes. So they were never just plain kind of white pancakes. We always made, pink, purple, blue, green. So, to make blue milk, literally, just take some food coloring. So that would, uh-oh, there it got dark. So just take some food coloring, it would be blue. But the flavor, if it were to have like a special, maybe like blue raspberry flavor or something, that would be
Hmm.
delicious.
That's something I didn't even think of. I was kind of along the lines of, oh, it's probably just, you add blue food coloring to milk and then you have blue milk, but raspberry.
Yeah, blue raspberry or blueberry milk would be amazing.
Ashley, I think in addition to her universe and, selling, products for men and women, I think you need to open up your own like chef store, like
Oh
nerd
God.
related. Yeah.
Well, don't tempt me. I love cupcakes.
Ooh.
Always have. I love to bake, and I, the obsession became real when I got to be a guest judge on Cupcake Wars.
Ooh.
They had a Star Wars episode, so I got to be the guest Star Wars judge, and um, I just found out the other day I'm doing a voice on DC superhero girls.
Nice.
So I get to be a guest judge on another episode of Cupcake Wars, having something to do with that. So I've just had an obsession with cupcakes and cake my whole life, but ever since that show, I like anything that has to do with geeky cupcakes, I am in.
Well, you know it would go great with cupcakes, raspberry blue milk.
Totally.
Mm-hmm.
I think we need to sell that at the next
I do too.
celebration.
And oh, speaking of, so you were just saying that you were wearing something from her universe rather. I almost said her universe press. We'll get to that later, folks.
Well, I
Um,
got a dress out of book pages.
I'm actually wearing the Darth Vader leather jacket. My boyfriend got it for me for
Oh,
Christmas, and I love it. Like
oh wow.
I often feel like I'm very young looking and I'm almost in my
Yeah.
30s and I look like I'm, 15 most of the time. So like when I wear this, I'm like I feel like I look my age and I look really good and kind of sexy and I like it.
Wow. Well,
Yeah.
thank you. Thank you for
Yeah.
being a Her Universe model, and tell
Yep.
your boyfriend thank you for his support. I love that jacket, actually. I
Hmm.
think it's still available right now at Hot Topic, and it's the perfect black jacket. I mean, everybody needs like a good black jacket, or that little black dress, or
Hmm.
something that can go with all outfits. And that jacket especially, it's so subtle that most people won't realize you're wearing a Darth Vader jacket, but when you look close, especially when you see the embroidered Imperial logo on the
Hmm.
back, you're like, wait a minute, I see what you're
I'm
doing
just
there.
modeling it as you're
And
as you're
what
talking.
you're talking about Darth Vader, I literally just got these in the mail, so I will be sharing my obsession. But check out the Star Wars Tsum Tsums. Um, I just got one. I got the whole Disney Star Wars set.
Oh my
So
goodness.
yeah, obsession is real with these new Tsum Tsums.
That's awesome. I actually, it's really funny. I actually have an Ahsoka Tano Disney Infinity figure on my desk, and I'm showing it to you right now. And it's amazing. I have Sabine and Ahsoka, and they sit on my speakers because I like surrounding myself with powerful women,
Very
and they're
cool. Very cool.
awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I did not plan this. It's just that my kitchen table right now is an absolute mess. So I have the Ahsoka Vader action figure right here. I just saw it in Toys R Us and bought it because they're so hard to find.
Oh, that's awesome. Oh my goodness. We're just a couple of nerdlings. I love it. We're just surrounded by like all of our material things that we love, like our things that represent the nerd culture we're obsessed with.
Yeah, I literally squealed out loud when I opened up these Tsum Tsums. Like, look at
Oh,
this!
oh my
How
goodness.
cute
That's
is that?
awesome.
I mean,
Oh,
seriously.
I love
Ah.
it. So, I feel like you and I could talk all day
Yeah,
about Star
yeah.
Wars and
Especially, I
everything.
mean, Ashley, we should just call this like the Ashley squared hour.
We really should. And it's really funny. Like when we first got on the call with each other, and I was like, "Wow, we have the same kind of hair. Look at that." And you're like, "We could be sisters." I'm like, "Oh my God, I wish." It'd be so
Fangirl
cool.
sisters.
It's
It's a
awesome.
celebrity. It's a thing.
Yeah, it totally is. So I'm curious, how did you fall into voice acting, and what were you doing before you became a voice actor?
Well, I definitely fell into voice acting, but I was acting full time, mostly doing live action on camera, movies and television. So I started acting when I was 12. So I grew up in Orlando, Florida, and started doing theater. And fortunately, growing up in Orlando, there's all the theme parks there. So there was Disney and SeaWorld and Universal, and I was able to actually get an agent I think I got an agent by the time I was 13, because
Wow.
SeaWorld just they were casting for a new TV show that was on the Discovery Channel every Saturday morning called Shamu TV. And so they were looking for some local kids that were actors. So they actually came to my middle school and came to our drama department and just held auditions in our local drama department. And I ended up getting a part on Shamu TV. And
Wow.
using that experience, I was able to get an agent in Orlando. And so I built up my resume. I did some videos and commercials for, Disney and Universal and SeaWorld. And by the time I was 19, I ended up moving to LA to pursue acting full time. So my experience at that point was pretty much only on camera. And I was fortunate enough, I was 19, but I looked 13. So, and that helps in the entertainment industry because technically you're an adult. So they can work you adult hours, but you can play a kid because kids in Hollywood, it's very, very strict. They can only work 8-hour days, and part of that time is actually school hours. So not only, was I done with school, but they could work me, adult hours. So I was able to start working right away. I did a lot of work for like Disney Channel and Nickelodeon, and so my agent at the time also sent the actors out on voiceover. And so I didn't have any experience, but I really wanted to try it. And so I asked them to send me out on voiceover auditions as well because, the biggest misconception about voice acting is that, it's just acting. It's just a different technique. You're standing behind a microphone rather than standing in front of a camera. But it's still the same, it's still acting. It's still the same performance. So, it wasn't an easy start at all. I actually auditioned for 4 years
Wow.
before I booked an actual show, which was a Star Wars: The Clone Wars. Star Wars: The Clone Wars was my first series that was a series, and it took 4 years, so it was not like an overnight thing at all. But it is something that just I started auditioning for and kind of fell into.
Oh my goodness. 4 years?
Yeah,
Wow.
I mean, you go on several hundred auditions, and you only get a fraction of those. So you have to get used to rejection. You have to
Mhm.
get used to no. You have to get used to criticism, because you get rejected more than you get told yes.
Mhm.
But it kind of, to me, I appreciate the rejection. I appreciate the criticism because I want to get better. I want to know how to improve, and I feel like you have to be told no to improve and to learn how to get better.
Right. Well, in in a similar vein, I'm not an actor whatsoever. I did like acting in high school and college and stuff, but facing criticism as a writer, that can be
Oh
really
yeah.
hard. Yeah, and oftentimes, like you, oftentimes I get told no more than yes, but it's been more yes lately, but I mean, I've been working at this for like a full year,
Yeah,
and it takes a long time to really put your name out there and, get where you want to be.
it really does. And I mean, it's relevant to any career, really.
Hmm.
It's just like a job interview that you go on. There's always jobs that we don't get. Um, there's always, I think it's relevant to kind of whatever you choose to do in life. You're not going to succeed at everything. You're not going to get everything you go up for, whether it's a job or a role. But those are the times where you learn the most.
Hmm.
And so I always try to take a step back and say, okay, why didn't this work out? And learn from that. Is it something that I did? Or is it something that I did my best and it was out of my control? But I really try to see the lesson in that.
And actually, this kind of falls into what we're, kind of going in this direction. But do you have any advice for people interested in voice acting?
I do have advice. That's a question that I get a lot,
Hmm.
actually. And I think, kind of I just touched on it is voice acting is acting. So if you are looking to be a voice actress, essentially you're saying that you want to be an actress. And all forms of acting will help you, will kind of fuel the other. So, if you're looking to get into voice acting, then I recommend going to your local theater and taking a class, or auditioning for a play. Or if the city that you live in has an agent, try contacting that agent and seeing if you're brand new, then you may need to be an extra on a commercial that they're casting for, or there's all sorts of opportunities. You just need to put yourself out there. So definitely look into getting into acting, and then eventually with voice acting, it's best to look for an agent. And pretty much all of the big cities have agents, and they will have opportunities in voiceover. So like I said, there's different techniques, versus standing behind a microphone or standing in front of a camera, and you have to learn those techniques. But the acting and the performance part is the same.
And how do you get into character? Do you have like a ritual? Like, do you jump around 5 times and hopscotch?
Yeah, it changes for every character.
Hmm.
So, Ahsoka at this point, I've been performing Ahsoka since 2006. So this month, actually February, I have to look back and see when my first record session was, but I know it was in February of 2006.
Wow.
So, so I've been doing this character for so long, and I was fortunate where I got to bring a lot of my own personality to the character. So at this point, I can fall right into it. I really don't even need to prep. It's just, Dave Filoni gives me direction, and I can just go right into it. Um, it took a while, though, to figure out who she was and, her attitude and personality. I would say it took a good solid 6 months of recording before I really felt that we kind of knew exactly who she was. But, some characters are harder than others, especially if there's an accent involved, or a different voice than mine. I do the voice for Mia, the bluebird on Sophia the First,
Hmm.
and she has kind of a breathy Marilyn Monroe voice. So she's like, um, "Oh, Sophia, we're all ready for the ball."
Oh my goodness.
So that, I need to make sure that my voice is clear,
Hmm.
that there's no congestion. Usually, you make sure not to eat any dairy prior to a record session so you don't have that phlegmy sound. So there's preparation to make sure you can get your voice to the place that you need to be. My character on DC Superhero Girls, I do the voice of Cheetah, and she's a high school girl, so I need to make sure that I can really stay in my upper register. And she's kind of bratty and snotty. She's kind of the mean girl, but she's like, "Watch out, Wonder Woman," um, or, she's like, "It's time for my cat nap." So really making sure I can get in that higher register. But Ahsoka, for example, now she's in her 30s,
Hmm.
and she's no longer a teenager, and I do speak in my lower register for Ahsoka, so that I need to make sure the opposite, that I speak lower, and I sometimes, for me personally, to get in that lower register, it's actually I need to be tired, so I
Hmm.
don't go up here, I stay down here.
Hmm.
So, Ezra, what do you think of this situation? Where I stay in that lower register. So it just depends on each character, and it does take a while to figure out that voice for each character.
It's amazing the way you just transformed just now between like three different characters, and I just could not tell it was you. I was like, oh my goodness, like
Oh,
that is
well,
it
that's
completely
good.
changed. Yeah. And it's amazing that like your voice, like you have to kind of develop that too. It sounds like it's really something you need to work at, and going to different registers and tones of voice, and it's something I never would have even considered. That's really amazing.
Yeah, well, I will say one thing that is very important in voice acting is, people come up all the time and they say, "Oh, I can do different accents and I can do different voices." And, they'll say one line. Um, and then I say, okay, but can you do an entire conversation in
Hmm.
that voice? And that's the difference is, with actually becoming that character, you literally have to be that character. You have to be able to have an entire conversation as that character. You know, um, I love Veruca Salt, for example, from Charlie and the Chocolate Factory,
Hmm.
and I can say, "I want an Oompa Loompa Daddy, and I want it now." But can I carry on an entire conversation as her?
Hmm.
That's a bit trickier than just saying one line.
Hmm.
Um, and so that's one thing you have to work at. So when you say you have a character, can you really become that character, and can you have an entire conversation as that character? Um, the other thing with voiceover that I didn't mention, that if you're practicing, is um, oftentimes you don't get your script ahead of time. And if you do, you get it maybe the night before. I mean, you
Hmm.
really don't have time to rehearse or time to practice. The good thing about voiceover, the reason that is you don't need to memorize your lines. You stand right behind a microphone stand, and you can read your lines. But there's not much rehearsal time. So what they call that is a cold read, because you're literally picking up the script and it's a cold read, meaning like you're reading it cold. so, but in voiceover, that's expected. You're expected to be able to pick up a script, and there's kind of like a 3-take rule that they expect you to get the performance right in 3 takes or less. So, well, they usually like you to read it 3 different ways, so they have 3 different options. But if you do something more than 3 takes, it's okay occasionally, but you shouldn't do the entire script that way, because it we only take one day to do an entire episode, so, and not even a whole day, like 4 hours to do a whole episode. So they have a lot of lines they have to record in one afternoon. And so if you take too long to record your lines, that means studio time. And that means that they're going to have to spend more time in the studio. So um, you definitely need to be able to pick up a script, and you need to get the performance right within, 3 takes.
Wow. My goodness, things I never would have considered. You were blowing my mind, Ashley. You really
Oh,
are.
goodness. Well, I mean, I'm sure it's the same of like how, if you have, as a freelance writer,
Hmm.
if you get a story that you have to write, I'm sure you have to turn that around pretty quickly.
Yes.
And, for somebody like me, that's why I actually don't write that many blog posts, because it takes me so much time. I literally agonize over every single word, because I want every single word to be right. And so sometimes a single blog post can take me hours, like literally hours. And so it's the same thing. I mean, I'm sure you have to learn to turn around articles really quickly. Well, it's the same, for voice acting.
Definitely. Yeah, it definitely I'm the same. If you give me all the time in the world to work on an article, I will just sit and agonize over every single word, every single sentence. I will switch things around, I will add things, I'll remove things, like I'll just edit the hell out of it until it is exactly the way I want it to be. But where you're working on a deadline or a schedule, yeah, I think you develop a skill where you learn to think less and do more.
Yeah.
You kind of just have to, you have to get the product out and you have to do it well. Um, and I think sometimes when you're given more time with things, you can kind of just just sit
Well,
on it for a while, because it's
yeah.
your
And I
baby, it's your brain baby.
Absolutely. And that's where the phrase, practice makes perfect come
Hmm.
in. Because if you practice and if you train, then when it comes to the actual job or the actual game or the actual article, then your skills are honed and you're ready to go.
Right.
So it should only take a short amount of time, because you've spent the time to practice and train.